Hello, my name is Jason DeVoe. I'm a technical specialist focusing on IBM's data science and AI solutions. I'm very excited to share with you today a demonstration of our AI technologies in the context of customer self-service. At a time of so much change and consumers purchasing more and more online, the time is right to better serve our customers through digital channels. And let me show you how we can help. But before I begin, I want to show you how we laid out the demonstration so you know what to look for. We're going to start with a basic Q&A, such as, what are your store hours? And while it's a simple question, there's a lot happening behind the scenes here. People often ask the same questions in different ways, such as one might ask, when are you open? And another might ask, what are your operating hours? And when bots can't understand basic Q&A, that's how they can frustrate users and the project ultimately fails. And it doesn't take a lot of effort to train with Watson Assistant because of the built-in natural language processing core. We can understand with just a few examples what people are trying to say. And while understanding language is key, sometimes even if you understand what the user is saying, you still need more information to know how to respond. If one asks what changed in a store, for example, they could be referring to various types of changes. Could be hours, could be new policy changes, could be anything. If a chat interface starts returning the response before clarifying, this can lead to user frustration. Imagine just asking a question and continuously getting the wrong result back, when really it was because there's another question that's similar but different that you were really trying to ask. This is where disambiguation is critical to decipher what the customer intended from the question. So instead of incorrect responses, Watson will offer up options of what the customer may have intended to help clarify the request. Now, the importance of understanding the user is especially critical when it comes to more complex questions or flows, such as what is my order status, or trying to make changes to an order, or how to handle a case when they'd like their loyalty point balance but they're not yet signed in. So think about this. You go to get your order status. They tell you it's nearly ready, but there's a new option for picking up your order and ask if you'd like to change it. But before you decide, you need more information. This is where digressions are critical because it lets the customer interrupt the flow to have the assistant give you the information you need, when you need it, and when that's done, it can get right back to modifying your order information. I'll also walk you through a few other areas unique to Watson Assistant, such as things like slots, which is a capability to set up a number of questions that the user needs to answer before progressing forward. Like, for example, if someone wants to schedule an appointment, we can ask them what type of appointment and when and what time. And while we're talking about time, that's important as well. Watson Assistant understands things like tomorrow, next week, or noon, so it can correctly get that information from the user and automatically process it without any special work happening there. Then finally, the ability to give the people more information to answer those things that are referred to as long-tail questions, where they're responses that exist in a document, maybe not a pre-built Q&A like some of the others. So we can seamlessly integrate in with Watson Discovery service to find the information in that unstructured data and return it to the users. Or at some point, the user may just need to speak to a human, want to be transferred to a live agent. We have that ability as well to integrate out of the box with a number of different call center providers that we can take the information and all the context that the user has and immediately transfer it to a live agent and allow them to continue to work within that same interface between the agent and the customer. Okay, let's now dive right into the demo. What we have is our Watson Assistant conversational platform overlaid on top of a website, a fictional website of a retailer called CityCool. That little icon to start the chats in the lower right, we can obviously customize this a number of different ways, customize the icon, customize the interaction, all those things. This is just one to get started. So by clicking on that, it opens up the assistant, and we start to see a welcome screen. It says, hi, how are you? It's called Jessie is this particular assistant. We have names in there. There's buttons in there to get you started for actions that you can take. So you can click one of those to start getting information, or you can just start typing in as you think of the questions that you want to have. Like, let's just get started with something like, what are your hours? Now, doing this, as we mentioned before, the Watson Assistant, the brains under the covers here, is processing that information and looking at the examples that it has to find similar like examples to that. It doesn't have to be an exact match. We don't have to know exactly what people are going to type in. It's smart enough to use natural language processing to pick up based on what you start to type. Now, if we go and add another one, maybe say, when are you open? Note, again, it's not the exact phrase. It's a slightly different way of saying that, but both understand your intent. You want to know when the store is open. And we'll retrieve that answer and show it back to you. Right? That's the first part. Now, what if you were a little less vague, a little less exact in what you wanted to know about? So what has changed in the stores? Right? In this case, what do you mean? Lots of things have changed. Hours, procedures, policies. This time there's a lot happening in these stores. Right? So this is an example of something called disambiguation. At this point, we want to understand exactly what the user wants to do. We're close. There's a couple of things we could answer here, but rather than give them the wrong answer and really frustrate the user who has to go back and forth and figure out the right way, just ask them. These ones are kind of close. What can I help you with? On this one, let's say I want some updates about the stores. Fantastic. It goes and pulls that information, brings it up with even more details that I continue to drill into. Now we've gotten some basic information out of the way. Let's get a little more sophisticated in what we're looking for. A big thing that people are asking as they order online, what is my order status? Now from here, the way that we've got it set up is to find out what your order is and make sure you are, at least who you say you are. We're going to ask you for your order number, so 965-318-642. And then we're going to ask for your postcode, where you're located. In this case, we're going to use SE19PC. Obviously works all over the world, so we're using UK postal codes in here for this example. US zip codes, of course, work as well as many other places. So now we've put in the information. It knows who I say I am, and it tells me my order. It's currently in progress for click and collect. And then it gives you a prompt. It adds more information for you, or more actions you can take. Do you want to make any changes to this? Perhaps how you're going to pick it up, or add something additional to the order, or just no. In this case, I can look at it, and it's set up for click and collect or curbside pickup. But let's get some more information here. Like now, I'm wondering, well, if I want to pick it up in store, how do I do that? Or what is the policy for the click and collect? So how do I pick up my order? Now what's interesting here is we're in the middle of a flow. We're in the middle of finding out about our order, and it's asking us what we want to do about it. But that has triggered another question. It happens all the time in customer support and customer service. So that other question is something I'm able to just type in this case, how do I pick up my order? And it's gone out and it's retrieved that information and given you the answer to that question when I wanted it, when I need it. And then at the bottom, it also talking about the multi-channel capabilities that we can support. It even asks, do you want the full policy sent to you as a text? Right? You might not want to read it right now on the website. Keep it for later. In this point, I've gotten the information about how I do this. I don't need the text. I'm just going to say no. Now, what it does is it doesn't send you back to the beginning. You don't have to start all over. It knows, it remembers that just previously we were asking about orders and changes you want to make. So I can look at it. It takes me right back to where I was and say, all right, well, I actually want to do a store pickup. Go in the store and pick it up at this point. I feel good about those procedures. Well, saying that we want to do a store pickup, we might want to change what store we're looking at as well. Maybe go pick it up at a different location. And talk about the memory here. Prior, we put in the postcode as a validation for our order status. It remembered that. It actually kept that information, that context for us. So when we tried to find like stores, it looked in our current postcode to find which one we might want to look at. So let's go ahead and pick one of them. There we go. It has now updated our order. It's changed to in-store pickup at the new store. And excellent. Ask me what else we can help you with. All right, well, I'm making some purchases. I'm buying some things here. Maybe my loyalty status has changed. So what is my loyalty status? Now, for this information, we're going to force that the user is authenticated or logged in. Unfortunately, I haven't done that yet. So it's smart enough to know, and so you're not logged in. If you'd like to get that, please log in with our website. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm Smith at example.com. Type in my password. Unfortunately, my password's incorrect. All right, well, we can resolve that too. So I'm going to come back over to my assistant. We want to keep them in one place, one conversation. We don't want them to have to go all over the website. So I can just come right back in here and say, I need a password reset. Now, there's many different ways to do this, much more secure, but for demo purposes, we just wanted to keep it simple. So let's put in our email password. Our email address. And then it's going to go and reset our password. Obviously, this would typically be a link that it sends out that we can go in and do the password reset from. But for the purposes of this, let's just come back in and msmith@example.com with the password of password and log in. And now we can see up top it says welcome Mark. So we're getting authenticated here. And I say loyalty status. Voila, we've gotten that credential information that's come back. We know that you're authenticated, passing that token along, and it tells us we have 157 points available. Anything else we can do? Excellent. So we were able to go in and find out, integrate in with a loyalty status, get our numbers there, do a password reset. All right, now we got these points. We got our order taken care of. With everything that's going on, let's just ask a question about COVID. So how reliable our COVID test? Now, this is an example of a question that we didn't pre-program. We didn't pre-set up the examples for these questions. I'll put together an answer in there for you. What is called long-tail questions. These are things that are not your typical Q&A pairs, but are contained within the many documents and many unstructured textual documents that we have. We can actually go through and read those, scrape those documents, pull the information in, index all that, and seamlessly integrate with Watson Assistant in order to get to those results. So this is something that's been indexed using Watson Discovery and just seamlessly integrated for the end user. If there's a response that comes up that we can't answer from the QA pairs that we have, we can send this off to go retrieve it from other documents. So in this case being questions about COVID, I've gone in and I've asked my questions in there, gotten my responses, and then we know a little more about the test. Excellent. Now I can come back and say, I want to schedule an appointment. Now that I know what the tests are like, I want to put an appointment on the books. So I want to schedule an appointment for a COVID test tomorrow at noon. Now, this is one simple sentence that's very easy for all of us to understand. However, think about what's happening here. We have to understand, the system has to understand that what you want to do, your intent is you're trying to schedule an appointment, trying to schedule a time. Now we need to know what day, what time, and what the appointment's for. And in this case, Watson Assistant, the natural language processing it has the ability to pick up all that information from one sentence, right? So let me show you what happens when we go ahead and set enter. It's now going to do, it could successfully find that information, could successfully know that what date tomorrow was, and then it could check the schedule. Say, oh, we don't have an open appointment at that time. So now I'm going to go ahead and pick a different one. And then finally get the confirmation that our appointment was scheduled for a COVID test tomorrow at 10:30. It was smart enough to actually know what tomorrow meant, to pick up all those different entities and the information from that one simple sentence and make this a much more natural, easier conversation flow with the system. Now, with all this that it can do, with all the power it has, often people just need to still talk to a live agent for things maybe the bot's not set up for, or they just need to talk to someone, handle something a little more sophisticated. So I can go ahead and do that. I need to speak with an agent. Right? And what this does is that out of the box, we integrate with many different call center applications, many different call center packages. This particular one I'm using right now is called Zendesk. So if I simply get to a point where either I'm frustrated or it's picking up a tone perhaps it's coming across, or if I just say I want to talk to a live agent, it simply takes that information, passes it over to our partners here at Zendesk, and we can see the full conversation flow that's happened. Not just their name or any of that information, but actually the full flow. So I can go back and see what the user was putting in, what responses were they coming back. So as a call center agent, I have the full context. So let me just respond back. Right? And that conversation now, while the call center sees this screen, back looking over at the screen that the consumer has, the customer, you can see that live integration now is picked up. All within the same context. They didn't have to move, they didn't have to change, and all that context went forward with the call center request. So that concludes our demonstration for today. I hope it's been valuable and you picked something up from it. Before we go, I did just want to do a quick recap with you. There's a lot of things that we covered in this brief time, but some really important ones. It's important that the chat interface and the chat platform isn't just a hard coding of a bunch of questions and answers. It needs to have the strong natural language processing to understand what the user is saying and deliver the right intents. And it needs other capabilities to make sure that your users aren't getting frustrated. When we asked what had changed in the store, it was a very vague question. So to be able to handle that disambiguation and ask the user for what exactly it is that they mean goes a long way in ensuring customer satisfaction. And then being able to step out of a more complex flow and answer questions as the user thinks of them, not making them go back to the beginning or start all over, but at that moment giving them the answers to the questions that they have when they have them is absolutely critical for ensuring success. Now, every question you're not going to have a pre-built answer for. There's just too many questions that people could ask. So the ability to handle those long tail questions, or those questions that, like I said, you didn't put in place up front, but are contained in the many, many millions of documents that we all have, is critical to unlock that information for people and ensure their satisfaction. And then finally, when the user does need to speak to somebody else or want to talk to a human, that's that out-of-the-box service desk integration to take not just the request and throw it over the wall to somebody else in a completely different channel, but maintain that channel and send the full context so the call center agent has it and your users don't have to repeat themselves again. All these are the extra things that go into making a truly successful chat interface, chat experience for the end users. So this is Jason DeVoe. I again thank you for your time and have a good day.